Hey guys, welcome back to the Basement Mushroom Palace. So we're gonna get another species growing in our winter grow series here. Today we're gonna do lion's mane. Specifically, I'm doing Hericium americanum. Now, lion's mane for some people means Hericium erinaceus is the traditional lion's mane species, but I kind of call all the Hericium species lion's mane as like a general group. I've grown a lot of different species and strains of lion's mane over the years, and my favorite one is the one I'm going to show you today. It's Hericium americanum. It's actually native to my area here. I do find them wild in the woods. So I'm going to get that rolling today. Again, like my oyster grow, I'm not doing a big run here. I'm just going to do a 3-bag run. I have 3 pounds of grain spawn already prepared. And we're just going to do 3 pasteurized fuel pellet bags so I can show you guys the process. Similar to oysters, lion's mane need a lot of fresh air and a lot of humidity to develop normally. So you can kind of do them as a companion grow as well. You can fruit them out in the same kind of environment and they'll both do well. But with the lion's mane, I'm not going to add any of the aspen shavings or aspen bedding. We're just going to go straight hardwood fuel pellets. I do want to play with trying to add a little wheat bran in, but I'll probably do that in a later grow. Right now I'm just going to go with my standard recipe, and we'll go from there. So the fuel pellets I'm using are the same ones I've been using in all my grows lately. It's these instant heat wood pellets. They're made right here in New York. They're hardwood fuel pellets. What kind of tree they come from, who knows? It's whatever they're milling at the hardwood mill at the time. But so they've been working good for all the species I've been trying them on lately. So that's what we're gonna roll with. So turn on our scale, and we're gonna weigh up 2 pounds of fuel pellets into our container here. That's 2 pounds of dry pellets right there. As always, I add just a pinch of granulated gypsum. The gypsum will give some minerals to your mushrooms, and it'll also help to create looseness in the sawdust substrate so you can shake easier. And I already have our standard filter patch bags here. We'll labeled them on the bottom of the filter patch with HA for Hericium americanum. All in there just like that. And I have my water heating up. So once I get these all bagged up and ready, we'll be adding our boiling water to the bags to get the pasteurization process rolling. Okay, I have the camera zoomed in so you guys can watch me work. I got my water boiling here. I have this container all marked off, and 2 pounds of fuel pellets comes up to this level right here. And basically you want to go that same level with your boiling water. And that's going to not only pasteurize, but perfectly hydrate your fuel pellets. As always, when you're working with sawdust, it's better to go a little under with your water than over, because a little too dry is okay, a little too wet is usually not okay. So once we add our water in, I'm going to impulse seal the bag right away. That's going to keep all that steam in there. And we're going to move these bags right to, I have a clean plastic storage tote right over here. They're going to go right in the storage tote. We're going to pack them in nice and tight. And they're going to sit in there for an hour and a half to pasteurize. As always, be careful when you're doing this because you're working with really hot water. Obviously, you got to be careful. So we got the water right up to that line. I'm going to use our handy dandy funnel here that we made out of the gallon water jug. Helps hold our bag open. So as soon as that water hits those fuel pellets, they're going to start expanding right away. The bag's going to fill with steam. So ASAP. So I want to move it over to your impulse sealer. give it a good seal right at the top. That's it. Go over to the tub and go on to the next. Okay, I actually have two grows going at once here. So I have our brought blue oysters and our Hericium americanum bags in here. They're going to be keeping each other company, snuggling, keeping warm here. So I have them all in the tub. I'm going to put the lid on and I'm going to wrap the whole thing in a blanket. I always put a blanket over the tub to kind of hold the heat in, and they're just going to ride there for about an hour and a half. Our Hericium bags are all cooled down and ready to inoculate. What we did is, after they sat for an hour and a half in the tub, obviously hot, pasteurizing, we just pulled them out and sat them on the table over here, and just leave them for about 2-3 hours to cool down. It does take a little while, but you can just sit them on a table, allow them to cool down. Obviously, you don't want to inoculate any hot substrate, as always. If you do that, you're just going to kill your mycelium, and your grow's not going to go anywhere, and that's not what we want. We want some awesome lion's mane mushrooms. If you guys have never messed with lion's mane or Hericium mushrooms before, they're delicious for one thing, but they also have tons of really good medicinal benefits. And let's check out our spawn here. This is our this is wheat, and believe it or not, this is fully colonized. Growing Hericium does take some getting used to because the mycelium is very different from a lot of other mushrooms. It's very wispy when it colonizes, and the grain a lot of times won't even look fully colonized, but you'll start to see these little dense white dots like you see here, and that means you're basically fully colonized. And let me see if I can get another jar here, show you guys another angle. There you go. See all those dense white dots, and you can see that real, this looks like spider webs, real wispy mycelium running through there. Not real dense like a lot of other mushrooms, so that takes some getting used to. But this grain is fully colonized. It's absolutely ready to use. Now, when these blocks are fully colonized, it's going to be the same way. They're just going to look, they're not going to white up real nice like a lot of mushrooms do. They're just going to have that real wispy colonization. And when you start seeing these real dense, you'll see real dense little white patches of growth here and there around the bag. That basically means they're ready to move to fruiting. So growing Hericium definitely takes some getting used to. But what we're going to do here is we have our scissors. We're going to cut the tops of the bags off. And our quart jars, that's about a pound of grain spawn in each jar. So we're just doing 1 jar to 1 bag. So we'll cut the top off, give the jars a little shake, dump the spawn in there. Then we're just going to move over to the impulse sealer and seal up our bags, set them aside. Once we have them all done, we'll go ahead and give them a shake. And this is, of course, far from a perfect sterile technique here, but that's the cool thing about this pasteurization process, as I mentioned in all my videos. With this pasteurization method, you don't have to have perfect sterile tech, and you can pull this off. I'm doing it in front of the flow hood, but you definitely don't need to do it in front of a flow hood. You can pull this off just in a clean room with still having really low contamination rates. So I did just kind of spray everything down with rubbing alcohol and clean it up a little bit, but other than that, we're just going for it. Okay, I have the flow hood turned off now because the only way really to find leaks when you're doing these filtered batch bags is to listen for them. So if you're all quiet, if you just give them a little squeeze and just kind of listen, you'll hear, if you have a leak, you'll hear that air seeping out. If you don't hear anything, you're good to go. So what you're going to do is kind of do a shake and roll here, and you're trying to break up the spawn and also evenly distribute the spawn throughout the sawdust so you get a nice even spawn run. So usually what I do first is I just squeeze from the bottom of the bag up, and that kind of brings some sawdust up and moves some grain spawn down. And once I do that, I'll just start shaking and rolling. It's important too to get this moist sawdust down here that gets trapped in these gussets, to get that out of there too. Sometimes you'll have some extra moisture trapped down in there. You want to just get everything nice and evenly distributed. Alright, we got all the grain pretty evenly distributed there. So you want to try and get as much of this sawdust out of these gussets as you can. You want it all down on your block. So obviously you want mycelium hitting as much of this as you can. Try and get your top nice and level here. And then what I do is just kind of tap it on the table a few times, just to kind of pack it down. And that's it. That's ready to go on the incubation shelves. So what we're going to do, I'm going to move these over to just some wire shelves where we always incubate them. And they'll probably take a week or two. And like I said, at that point, I'll start seeing some dense white patches here in different areas of the block. And at that point, you got to be pretty quick and move to fruiting. And there's some things you have to do at that point, which obviously I'll cover when we're there. So quickly, I just want to show you guys my environmental conditions I'm working with here too. This is our temp humidity monitor, 45% humidity, 66 to 68 Fahrenheit on the temps. All right, it's update time on our Ericium americanum grow. And we're at about a week after inoculation here. And you might not know it by looking at them, but we're starting to get some nice colonization here. Our blocks are looking really healthy. They're looking good. But like I said, if you're not used to growing Hericium, this may freak you out. You may be thinking, what did I do wrong here? I'm not seeing any white. My blocks aren't looking good. But this is totally normal for most Hericium species, at least the ones I've grown. And what you can see, there is a couple little points of white down here towards the bottom. Those are individual kernels of wheat. But most of it, I'll back up here a little bit. You can see it almost looks like wet spots on the surface of the sawdust, and that's totally normal. That's actually that fine linear mycelium starting to spread across the block, and that's what those wet spots are. So we're actually getting nice colonization here. These are looking really good. And what will happen is probably, we're a week or two away from fruiting time here, but all of a sudden this block will be colonized with this this wispy fine mycelium, and then all of a sudden you'll just start seeing some really dense white spots. A lot of times they're up here near the open air part of the bag, and that's actually pins starting, and it happens really fast, so you got to be on top of it. And then we got to switch over to fruit mode. Our Hericium americanum blocks are begging to get turned loose here. You can see we got a lot of top pinning on the tops of the blocks. We got some nice pins on the sides here as well. This one's got a ton of pins on top back here, so they are absolutely begging to be turned loose here, which is what I'm going to do right now. Hericium's a little different than like some other mushrooms like oysters. With oysters, pre-primordia formation, I'm basically cutting X-shaped slits in the bags to kind of try to dictate to the block where I want them to fruit. Most of the time that works. Sometimes they'll kind of change their mind on you and you have to adjust. But with Hericium, I usually let them tell me where they want to fruit. So I wait till some of these dense primordia start to form, and then I'll go ahead and turn them loose. So we're at that point now. First thing I'm going to do is cut the corners off the tops of my bags, and I'll fold them back tight and tape them with packing tape. Again, I'm trying to eliminate all this free airspace up top and stop all this top fruiting, and that will force them to fruit out the holes that I make. So we'll go ahead and trim these corners off, tape them back, and then we're going to go through and we're going to pick 3 of these dense white primordia to cut the bag out around them and turn them loose. And once we get that done, we're going to go ahead and move them over to the fruiting chamber, which is running over there. I have 3 oyster blocks in there right now that are just starting to pin as well. So we'll do them up and move them over. Make sure these gussets are tucked in nice and tight as well. Now that I have the tops of the bags taped back tight, as tight as I can get them anyway, I'm just going to take my scalpel and just pick a few of these primordia to kind of turn loose. Like right here, I have some nice dense fruit bodies forming here. I'll probably cut this area out, and maybe one other spot, you know, maybe over on the side here or something. And right here, like this, I really like this nice dense one forming here. I'll cut around him. Maybe over here. Like I said, just pick a couple, 2, 3 per bag, and turn them loose. I don't want to leave them sitting out too long. Let these primordia dry out. I want to get them right into the fruiting chamber, but I'll just show you quickly. I just excised some holes, a couple spots there, a few on the side here. Nice big one there, and a couple over here. So hopefully those ones I turn loose are going to develop into nice fruit bodies for us, and I'm going to go ahead and move them over to the fruiting chamber. Just want to take a quick peek in the fruiting chamber here. I think our Hericium americanum are just about ready to pick. You can see that they're opening it up and starting to get kind of toothy looking there. And got some really nice mushrooms. Got some over here too. It doesn't look like it's going to be a awesome yield on the first flush, but we're getting some nice mushrooms anyway. One thing I noticed with this method and this strain is that usually my second flush is equal to, or actually sometimes even a little more than the first flush, which is really uncommon. I'm not sure why. Usually your first flush is your biggest, but probably going to come back in a day or so and pick these guys off. So I'm going to go ahead and pick off these Hericium. They're looking pretty nice. They're really opening it up, getting toothy, so they're definitely ready to pick. Not great yield for the first flush, but I have a feeling that they're not loving this sawdust or whatever wood type these fuel pellets are made out of, because the spawn run was a lot slower than it usually is too. So probably for the next run, I'll probably try a different brand of fuel pellets that I have, and maybe mix in some aspen shavings as well. And but we're gonna go ahead and pick these off and see what we get. When I pick these, usually I'm gonna be real delicate with them, but usually they twist off pretty easy. Yeah. Looking pretty nice. Almost 4 ounces that one was. You may have to do a little trimming. There may be a little substrate stuck to the back of the clusters. Not too bad, just a little bit of sawdust. I'll keep these around for at least 2 flushes, sometimes 3 flushes. And like I mentioned before, with this strain, for whatever reason, sometimes not sometimes, but a lot of times the second flush is just as much weight as the first flush was. So our last fruit body here, she's a beauty. Let's see what we got. It's like 1 pound 2 ounces. So we got some beautiful mushrooms. Not great weight for a first flush, I wouldn't say. So we'll keep playing with our substrate recipe. Like I mentioned, the spawn run was way less aggressive and slower than what I'm used to, so I'm guessing they're not liking the wood type that's in these fuel pellets. That's one catch with the fuel pellets. You don't really know what kind of wood you're getting, and it can vary depending on whatever the hardwood mill is milling at the time they make the pellets. So we'll try some different additives the next time we do a run of these, and see if we can increase our yields and still do pasteurization, just because I'm trying to avoid doing bulk sub sterilization. I actually think I'm going to dry these and use them in some medicinal extractions, so it's kind of a shame. I'd love to eat them too. They look amazing, but I need them for some medicinal stuff. So anyway, I'm going to just go through and just trim the substrate off the backs, and these are going to go right into the dehydrator. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope this helps, and we'll keep working on it, playing with some different things. But it's going to be it for now. I'm going to keep these blocks around for another 1 or maybe even 2 flushes, and we'll see how the yield goes as the fruitings progress. But that's it for this video, and hope you enjoyed it. And let me know what strain of Hericium you guys like to grow, what your favorite strain is in comments, and what methods you use, and what kind of yields you're getting. I love to hear that stuff from you guys. So catch you next video.